Hi there, welcome back to the archives. So in this one, I'm going to get a little bit into Njinga, her actual life, okay? So she's known as a Defiant Queen. It says, even before the death of her brother, Angola Mbande, remember? Her brother Mbande was the one who, after her father died, she had another brother, but Mbande killed that brother. And then he killed her son, her baby son, who she had with her favorite concubine. He kills her son. He leaves her. She has two sisters. So there's three girls. He leaves the sisters. And he had, in Njinga, according to this book, he had her sterilized. So they knocked her out, had her sterilized so she can have any future children. She later killed his baby. Tit for tat. Talk about tit for tat. We're gonna get into that. She later killed his kid. It said that he poisoned himself or she poisoned him. Nobody really knows, right? But he, how you can't do well. So he did all of that, killed all of those people so he can be the leader. Then he wasn't even she was stronger than he was. And it says that he either killed himself or she poisoned him. I think he probably poisoned himself out of humiliation, because he was so ashamed. I killed all of these people so I could be a king, and my sister still came and was more of a powerful leader than I was. So even before his death, she was positioning herself. She was trained. Her and her father were really, really close. I don't know if I said that. Her and her father were really, really tight. She was her father's favorite, basically. Her grandfather was Kasanda. They controlled vast territories that covered a large portion of what is now modern-day Angola. They had a lot of respect. They instilled fear in their enemies. And they had a lot of followers. They were really, really popular. And Njinga's grandfather and her father kept a lot of the Mbundu traditions, despite their inroads with Christianity, right? They still were... we still go do divinations, we still check with the ritual priest, all of that. So did she. And so it says she stood out from the moment of her birth in 1582. So according to stories, she was born in what is now called breech, and so her face was upturned. Usually you want the baby's head to come first. Her legs came first, right? Her head was breech is when your head is hot. You basically come out like this rather than the head first. And so from the beginning, she was defiant. She wasn't going on course. She was breech, and then her umbilical cord was wrapped firmly around her neck. And so Mbundu believes how that a baby that was born in this so-called unnatural manner would not live a normal life, and that the manner of the person's birth predicted the character of the adult. And so already they're like, oh, this one is different. We don't know what is coming, but she's different, right? And so her father alluded to her unusual birth. He named his daughter Njinga from the Kimbundu root kujunga, which means to twist, to turn, and to wrap. So she was named basically because of the way in which she was born. And it says that were there at her birth, they performed many rituals pertaining to childbirth. They washed the baby with herbal solutions that they believed would protect her. And so during her childhood, she was very intellectually strong. She was physically powerful. And it distinguished her from her other young people in the court, including her own brother. So she formed a unique relationship with her father, and that continued into young adulthood. Her father had a lot of respect. Again, you see this with all of remember, a lot of the Razia, Kahina, but you see that a lot of these women are their father's favorites. And the reason they make it so far is because their fathers really groomed them to be powerful military intellectuals, right? They really were their father's favorite, and she was one of them. It was widely believed that Njinga had special blessings, right? So traditions passed all the way down to the present portray Njinga as doubly privileged because she had inherited royal status through her mother, who was a member of the Mbundu royal lineage, and the Mbundus are matrilineal. The Akan we are also matrilineal as well too. So she got royal status from her mother, which is said to make her doubly blessed. And then also her father was a reigning king. And so they said that she was doubly blessed because she came from two royal families. Plus then her birth was also different, which children who were born or lived from devastation, childbirth, were seen to have spiritual, what is the word? Everything now double, right? She just basically was blessed. Anointed is what we would say right now. She's anointed because both her mom and her dad are from royal lineages. Plus, she had the umbilical cord and the breech. Okay, so people are like, this one we don't touch her. She's a bad gal. Okay, she's a bad gal. She's anointed spiritually. She's protected. The ancestors are on her side. And so that's kind of a little bit of her upbringing. She was relentless. She was very, very strong, defiant child. She trained politically. She learned politically from her family, her father, all of the inner workings, as well as they trained her to be in the military as well too. And so activities that were generally reserved for the sons of rulers. So what would have been customary for the sons to do, she was also doing because her father was like, you gotta teach her these things. So her father taught her a lot. Her father had her train. She was also very, very smart. She learned from older women who served as her nurses and caretakers. So she had a little bit of like the traditional old ways as well too. And she was just shining. She was outshining her brother and other children. She was really skilled at the battle axe. In her old age, she boasted about how she was one of the best with the battle axe. She never was really, well, she gets married later, but she had lots of male concubines when she was younger. She led a really active sexual life. Later, I remember she had a son with one of her favorite concubines. I don't remember his name, but in the Netflix documentary, they tell you what his name is. Some of the members of the court, they didn't like this, right? Some of the men didn't think it was appropriate that a woman had all of these male concubines and was living like a man. They didn't like that. But she had her father's protection. Her father was a king. What are you going to say? You can't go against a king. He allows her to. And so she got away with a lot. She was around 19 or 20 when she really started to partake in some of the war efforts, is what it seemed here. She played a really important role in mobilizing resistance against the Portuguese. It's difficult to talk about her military career before 1624. So remember, 1624 is when she became official leader, when she was 42 years old. But by 1602 and 1603, she was already fighting against the Portuguese. And again, the second time it's recorded in military history that she fought the Battle of Provence in Museke. Okay? She gained most of her military experience during a disastrous war that her brother, when he was fighting the Portuguese. And basically it says that she left the court to live in another part of the kingdom, in the eastern part of Ndongo, near Matamba. And she had several of her own troops. And she was really, really monumental in fighting this battle against the Portuguese. And so she was really disappointed in the way her brother was running things. And she's just like, I feel like I could do way better. I don't know what is happening, but he's not doing great. He's losing things. He lost the capital to the Portuguese. Again, he was not doing great. You see it in the documentary. He's losing everything. And so she's just like, ooh, I don't know, but I think I could do a better job. She was in Luanda for some time, and there she refused to wear any Portuguese clothing, right? Instead, she strategically chose to highlight Mbundu fashion, and you see the fashions in the Netflix documentary is beautiful. But that was a strategic act. Like, I'm now wearing these Portuguese clothes. Again, remember, the men in her family and the rulers who came really conceded to the Portuguese, right? They dressed, they taught, they sent their kids to Portuguese schools. They were learning Portuguese and Latin. And so she was a little bit like, I like our old ways just fine. I don't want to wear Portuguese clothes. I'm going to wear our African fabric. She wore lots of colored feathers in her hair. Later, she expanded her wardrobe to include silk drapes, velvets, and a variety of scents and perfumes. There's one story it talks about in here, and you see it in the documentary as well too, where the Portuguese tried to humiliate her. They invited her to a meeting, and then there was no chair for her to sit on, and basically they were like, take a seat, and she's like, there's no chair. And it says, however, Njinga refused to lower herself. Without pause, she signaled haughtily to a female attendant who immediately dropped on all fours and assumed the position of a human chair. So in the Netflix, you see they're like trying to humiliate her. She said, no problem. I always come prepared. I have my own chair. And one of the girls runs from behind her and gets on all fours, and she sits on her. Again, I mean, in the document, they're like, oh, that's a boss move. And I mean, yes, it's a boss move, but again, at what cost? To humiliate another one of your people, right? And again, granted that they worked for her, but I don't know. I was like, there's a table in the room with a lamp on it. Take the lamp off and sit on the table so you're even more elevated. You didn't have to humiliate one of your own to prove a point. But that's just my thing. There's an image here. I don't know if you can see it, where she's sitting, right? And you see the person kneeling and she's sitting and talking to the Portuguese. So different things like that. I don't know. I thought using your servant as a chair is a little bit dramatic, but it made the point, right? She consolidated a lot of power. In September of 1625, it said that she had gotten rid of her concubine and she approached Casa. Casa was Imbangala. They were one of the most powerful warriors. And so you see here, at that time, when her brother had sent his child to Casa, who was the Imbangala warrior. And so when she realized that she needed to get rid of her nephew, so he wasn't a threat, she went and said that she had fallen madly in love with the leader, Casa. She wanted to get married to him. And basically she used the marriage as a guise to get close to the child, to kill the child. So it says the wedding was held somewhere, not in the Kimbundu Islands, but further inland, in the vicinity of Matamba, which was one of her headquarters. Her young nephew accompanied Casa to the site. The ceremony wasn't even over before Njinga seized the little boy, murdered him, and threw his body in the Kwanza River and declared that she had avenged her son. My God, talk about holding back for vengeance. She waited, was like, now I strike. Now I'm going to kill your son like you killed my son. So she killed her nephew, and some of her supporters fled because they were afraid of her, but it wasn't enough for people to change their mind about her. They still really liked her. And so, yeah, that was yikes. That's how she avenged her son death. Okay, she basically took matters into her own hand. She killed her nephew. There isn't anybody, there's no male heirs now anyways. And so she is the woman king. She's essentially a woman king. Okay? So she goes on to fight in the Portuguese. She really, really does not like the Portuguese, especially after the Portuguese took her sisters as ransom. She was like, oh, F this. You're going to take my sisters? No. So she really despised the Portuguese even more. And the rest is history. If you watch the documentary, it gets more into this. I have to return this book today So I'm going to pause it there because I have more reading to read. But that's as far as I've gotten. It gets more into the warfare and her diplomacy. It talks about her trying to find a balancing act, right? Converting to Christianity, Catholicism, finding a way. So I will share more in the future of Njinga. But for now, this is what I wanted to share, okay? She was a badass warrior queen, technically a king, because she took over the throne after her brother died. And she fought for many, 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 many years. She died in old age, I think in her 70s or 80s or something like that. She didn't officially become a queen until she was 42. And so she didn't become a queen until later on, but she started fighting very, very early. By 19 or 20, she was already on the front lines fighting the Portuguese. Her beginning of her early life is said that she was a little bit different because, again, she was born breech, her birth was different. Plus, in African culture, if you come from a royal lineage, it's said that you're especially blessed. So she was doubly blessed because she came from two royal families. Her and her father had a really, really close relationship. It didn't talk about much about her mother, and you didn't see much about her mother in there as well too. But obviously her mother would have been one of the many wives. She herself had many concubines as well too. She was really close with her sisters. And yeah, she's a powerful warrior. She was against the slave trade. That's an important part, right? It seems like a lot of the men conceded with the Portuguese. She was like, this is wrong. There wasn't a whole lot she could do, right? Because by this time, the slave trade is popping and they're making money, and regular ships are going between Angola and Brazil and other parts of the world. The Dutch get involved in there. You see the Dutch involvement. So the Netherlands end up in Angola as well too. So she tried to stop it. She's also complicit to some extent. Again, Africans already were enslaving each other in terms of servants and stuff. There were also serfs who were tied to the land, but chattel slavery completely changed all of that, and it would become much, much worse. So I have to return this to the library. I have a couple more new books that I want to check out. This week, I'll be back to do some geography. I want to share my favorite geography book as well too. I think I'm going to do one of the next episodes. I'm going to list as many African countries as I can. I really love geography. And so we're going to get into a little bit of that. Okay, so until next time, in solidarity.